We'll call the OnPoint board for October 17th to order. Let the minutes show that the time is 5:34. I will call attendance and then we'll have the pledge of allegiance. Kimberly Bartnick,
Here.
Ann Brenner,
Here.
Stan Brookhouse, here. Jessica Castaneda,
Here.
Mark DeYoung, here. Gail Dugan's here. Jane Carroll,
Here.
Beth Johnson,
Here.
Alice Kelsey,
Here.
Robin Clay,
Yes.
Karen Stratton. Karen Stratton.
Oh, here.
I marked you down president, I should say. And Pastor Greg Bendy here. We have a full board and everyone is here. Please all rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we have a provision for public comment. Is there anyone from the public who is here in the room would like to address the board? For hearing none. Is there anyone online, Mr. Whitty?
No, just us.
Okay. Second call for public comment. Hearing none, I'll close the provision for public comment at this time. The next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Is there any additions, corrections to the agenda as presented? Hearing none, entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Motion by Kimberly Bartnick to approve the agenda. Do I hear support?
Support. We'll compete.
Support by Robin Clay. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and call roll. Glenn Brookhouse,
Yes.
Jessica Castaneda,
Yes.
Mark DeYoung. Yes. I say yes. Jane Farrell.
Yeah.
Beth Johnson,
Yes.
Alice Kelsey,
Yes.
Robin Clay,
Yes.
Karen Stratton,
Yes.
Pastor Ben B,
Yes.
Kimberly Bartnick,
Yes.
and Pam Brennan.
Yeah.
Thank you. That motion carries. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there any piece of the consent agenda that anyone on the board would like to remove for later consideration? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Do I hear support?
Support.
Support by Kimberly. Is there any further discussion on the consent agenda as presented? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and take a roll call. Pastor Ben B,
Yes.
Karen Stratton,
Yes.
Robin Clay,
Yes.
Alice Kelsey,
Yes.
Beth Johnson,
Yes.
Jane Farrell.
Yeah.
Gail Dugan says yes. Mark DeYoung.
Yes.
Jessica Castaneda,
Yes.
Glenn Brookhouse,
Yes.
Pam Brenner,
Yes.
and Kimberly Barton.
Yes.
That motion is carried. The next on the agenda is the program committee of Chairman Alice Kelsey. Will you do the presentation?
Okay, today we had a presentation by Josh Beheimer, who is the head of supported services. He gave us a new term. It's called voluntold. he had talked with us last year in November, I think, and gave us some yearly stats of how many more consumers that he has worked with. That was an impressive amount. And he shared with us some of his concerns and his future plans for that program. And then Mandy gave us an overview of the quality improvement plan and talked primarily that the major change from this year to last is that we now have added in the CCBHC requirements. And that was an interesting part of what those new requirements are. And so that was a good update on that, and I will, no, what I don't remember, we didn't actually, in the program committee, move to approve that. We don't have to, anyway. We'll do it at the big board. And then finally, Susan, at the very last minute, just started to give us an idea of the reorganization that has happened amongst the leadership team, and we'll have more details, I think, by that, for that. And speaking of that, are we ready for that?
Yes, if you want.
Unless there was a question.
Clarify any questions that you might have for Alice on the program committee report. Yes, Mrs. Clay.
This is a question of procedure. The needs identified by the speaker on employment assistance. Who, do those specific needs, should they appear in our minutes?
I would imagine, Jessica, you wrote down some of those, didn't you? I think that'd be a good
yes.
idea,
Thank
Robin.
you.
I have all those notes of the concerns
Thank
and
you.
challenges, and I made notes, so I will have those in the minutes when I send it.
Okay, you have that question answered. You have a motion that you would like to have the program committee recommend to the main board at this time
Yes.
until you could show it in the program committee minutes, or I've never really had this situation happen at the main board. So
Actually, I don't know. Should we have had a motion to approve the quality improvement
Yeah.
within the program committee?
So on page 53 of the packet is a motion that
We're
Ideally-
recommending it.
it either should have been adopted to recommend to the main board, but if not, the main board can pick it up.
That's good.
No, I just,
We didn't get to
agreed
that.
I thought we agreed to recommend it. We didn't take a vote, but that's what
Okay.
we agreed.
I think we agree.
Yeah, I think it was very informal.
Yeah.
okay,
That's right.
I would like to formally say that the program committee would like to recommend to the OnPoint board to approve the fiscal year 2024 OnPoint quality improvement plan.
Alice, I am going to consider that as a motion.
That's my motion.
So with that, Alice Delsey has made a motion to adopt the aforementioned recommendation that is available in your packet. Alice, do you want to call for a support?
Do I have a support?
Support.
Support by Robin Clay. Further discussion? Are there any questions or further discussion on the motion?
If you did want to look at it, the parts that are primarily about the CCBHC, they start on page 41. Wanted to link to that.
For the board's information and everyone that's watching, there is 2 goals, and they're outlined in the in the pamphlet that was given out as the agenda. It's very comprehensive and good goals to accomplish in the coming year. So with that, we have the recommendation of Mandy. Would you like to say anything before we take a vote?
Valid plan, feel good about it.
Thank you. All right. Is everyone comfortable to take a vote at this time?
Yes.
Okay. I am going to call the roll. It was moved by Alice Kelsey, seconded by Robin Clay. Starting with a roll call, Kimberly Bartnick,
Yes.
Pam Brennan,
Yes.
Glenn Brookhouse,
Yes.
Jessica Castaneda,
Yes.
Mark DeYoung,
Yes.
Jane Farrell,
Yes.
Beth Johnson,
Yes.
Alice Kelsey,
Yes.
Robin Clay,
Yes.
Karen Stratton,
Yes.
Pastor Craig Van Beek,
Yes.
and I say yes too. Gail Dugan. That motion has carried unanimously. So thank you very much for the hard work on presenting that from Mandy. And thank you for the program committee bringing that to our attention and having it passed. Is there any further reports from the program committee? Thank you very much this evening, Alice. Next on our agenda is the Finance Committee report. Chairman Johnson, would you take that?
Sure. First, what we'll do is do the motion and then we'll have Andre come up and explain a few of the
What
financial.
page?
Page 6 in your packet.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. And the Finance Committee is making a motion that the OnPoint Board approve the September 2023 disbursements totaling $4,864,848.17.
I'm considering that as a motion, Mrs.
Yeah.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Would you call for support?
Do I have support?
Support.
Support by Kimberly. Is there any further questions or comments on the motion that's on the floor? Hearing none, I will take a roll call. Pastor Van Beek,
Yes.
Karen Stratton,
Yes.
Robin Clay,
Yes.
Alice Kelsey,
Yes.
Beth Johnson,
Yes.
Kimberly Bartnick,
Yes.
Pam Brenner,
Yes.
Glenn Brookhouse,
Yes.
Jessica Castaneda,
Yes.
Mark DeYoung,
Yes.
and Gail Dugan says yes, and Jane Farrell.
Yes.
That motion passes.
Okay, Andre, if you'd like to come up and with a brief account.
Yes.
I'll keep it brief. Okay, so, let's start out, I'll just tell everyone, very high level, overall, OnPoint is in a very good financial position. We have, quite a bit of cash on hand, which is a good place to be. It's better than the opposite, right? So, I tell this board every time about the unspent funds that we have. So right now, we're projected to in unspent funds that are Medicaid related. We're projected to return 1.56 million or 1.57 million to the LRE, and then $322,000 in general funds back to MDHHS. And this is as of August. Okay. Now, let me see, make sure I get to the right pages, so I can refer you guys to the right pages. Let's start out on page 11 of your packet, just the balance sheet. Just want to draw your attention to a couple items before we jump to the income statement. The very top line there, cash and cash equivalents, that's the cash I was referring to, so I'll make you aware of that. That is that uptick there, that significant increase actually over September 2022 throughout the year is due to our timely payments that we've been receiving from the LRE. So this is a good thing. The corresponding reduction, 2 lines down, the 655, that was a much larger number the previous month. So that number has gone down because most of those proceeds and revenue or cash has gone up into the 5 million. So that's the good position for us. We like cash, right? The other point I would like to draw your attention to on the balance sheet is the second to bottom line there, unrestricted. Okay, and you see the negative 954,000. If this board recalls, a few months back, both Aaron and I presented to the board a deficit elimination plan that you approved that we sent into the state, a 5-year plan. And that was, what, 2.5 something, $1 million that we had to pay back because we were in a deficit position. Well, that 954,000 reflects our current position as of August. So OnPoint has been making significant strides in reducing that deficit with the state. So that's something that I wanted to make sure that the board is aware of. So those are just high level items to draw your attention to before we just jump into the income statement. Are there any questions around that at all? Okay, going over to page 12. The income statement. The statement you have before you is the income statement. Top line, or top side there is the revenue. And I'd like to draw your attention to the 93.5% that's on the right-hand side. What that reflects is what our spend has been in relationship to the budget. So we are in line with our spending for the budget, seeing as we are 10 months through the year. So we're 90% through the year of our spend. So we're very much in line on the revenue side. I have no concerns. The team has no concerns. Things are flowing as far as grant revenues coming in, and as well as and also our billable revenues coming in. On the bottom, we've got the operating expenses. It shows the 89.56% there, so it shows we're a bit behind on our expenses below budget. That's okay as well. Most of that is driven still by the fact that we have open positions throughout most of this year. And if you look at our salary and wage line where it shows that it's 77% or 78% below budget, and the contractual services are way above budget. What that is, those two offset each other, but when you net them together, we are still significantly below budget in our wages and our salary and wages, which is usually roughly around 60–70% of your expenditures when you're a nonprofit or a government agency. So we understand that, but the team has been doing a tremendous job in providing services to the clients and patients that desperately need them, and really stepping up while we've had some of these open positions. But that's really the driver there as to why we're behind when we look on the expense side. Net, looking at the change in our net position is at 1.6 million. So that's where we're setting from a financial position at the end of August. So we're pretty pleased with our position. That number will be coming down, okay, because in September, because what you do not see here, but what you did approve were the payrolls, the 3 payrolls that hit in September, as well as the 1.6 million that we paid to the LRE in September. Those will be reflected when you see September's numbers. So that number, although looks good in August, it'll be significantly decreased, but we'll still be in a positive position at the end of the year. Right now, we're estimating probably around the $500,000 is probably where that number is going to end up landing by the end of the year. So we'll still be in a positive position.
Now, how do you do that? Guess how much is,
Oh, we do projections.
okay,
We do projections based on what our trends have been for spending and also revenue trends. And so we look at historical data and what our spend has been over the months.
Okay.
And then we look at what our current expenditures are. We have our accounts payable accountant go in and then help us put together a projection so we can try to look forward and estimate where we're going to be.
okay, thank you.
Any questions I can answer for anyone?
Sure.
You're the finance chair.
I'm sorry. Yes, you can ask a question. We're so informal in committee.
I just wanted to make the comment, I'm thrilled, because I can't remember, I think the entire time I've been here, we've always given back at least $1 million, if not one more than $1 million, and I'm so thrilled. I don't know, I just love that number. Anything under $1 million, I think, means that we really understand how much we need and how much we spend, and we're billing everything that we're serving. And I just feel that it's really a nice tight, you don't want to be have $2 left. But I think, that is a really great number and I'm good. Because I always feel like, well, I always hate to give that money back, you know? And so this, to me, is fair. You know, we didn't need it all. Somebody else may need it, you know, one of the other CMHs may need it, or we may need it some year. And so this is, I'm really, hats off.
Is, I'm paying attention now. Anybody else have any other questions for Andre? Okay, well, thank you. And that is all for the finance committee.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Bonneton. This, next on the agenda, is there any report from the recipient rights? We did not meet recipient rights. Next on the agenda is the chairperson's executive committee report. We met on Friday and we went over a series of topics. One of those was the appointment of Jane Farrell to the program committee, which I would like to go ahead and confirm at this time. The other things that we'd like to go ahead and do, but I'd like to take care of that appointment first. I'd like to appoint Jane Farrell to the program committee. Is there a support for that motion?
Support, oh, sorry.
Okay, it's gonna be
We all
Allison.
wanted to, yeah, no.
All right, I'll just write down a multitude of supports. All in favor of that motion, say aye. All opposed? Jane, you are now officially on the program committee. The rest of, the report for the executive, committee meeting that we had on the 13th of October, and it wasn't a bad day. But all the seats that we have on the OnPoint and on LRE are filled. We have, Pastor Van Beek has, graciously, attended and is, quite thrilled about the LRE board. We have, Jane joining us to fill out that last seat, here on this board. And the orientation went well. And our delegation that is going there is going to have a like orientation meeting here later this week. The email addresses and things of that nature are being pending as of this time until we have other staff hired. I didn't make that mistake this time. Or alarm anyone. And we reviewed the key board tasks. This month was doing the quality improvement plan approval, which has been successfully done. We have coming up is the CMHA meeting for October 22nd. You will see in your packet an agenda for the chairman's meeting that I'm going up to attend. If there's any issues that anyone on the board would like me to extend or express at that chairperson's meeting before the executive board, I would love to have that input before I go, because I'm your voice at that chairman's meeting. And we are looking at statewide issues that are affecting all of our CMHs. So if there's something that you would like me to express at that meeting, please email me or drop me a note or whatever you'd like to do. But I'd like to have that input. Other than that, we also had a analysis of the state's participation in the Medicaid shared risk arrangements. We discussed that, and that was the scope of the executive committee meeting. Is there any questions for me? Hearing none, thank you very much for this time here on the agenda. So, at this time, we have with us, and I believe that you haven't confirmed or denied that you're going to be Mary Dumas's substitute.
Yes, I'll be
But we have in person Stephanie Vandergrift. It's wonderful to have you here, Stephanie.
Yes, thank you. So I'm Stephanie Vanderpoint. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Lakeshore Regional Entity, and I have just a couple updates for you this evening. Just wanted to mention that my staff and I worked feverishly over the last several weeks to get all the contracts ready to go. We sent out over 60. As of today, 38 of the 60 have been signed. I'm sure you're all aware, sometimes it takes, our boards to meet in order for our CEOs and whatnot to get the approval to sign. So we're anticipating we should have everything signed here, hopefully the next 2 weeks or so. So just wanted to let you know that. The other item, I can't remember if I shared with this board or not, but at our last meeting with this board, our veteran navigator, Eric Miller, he got promoted to work for MDHHS as the statewide veteran navigator. So we're very excited about that. But that also means I've lost my veteran navigator. And so we're in the process of hiring an individual. We had 35 applicants and we chose 4 to interview. I'm planning on making an offer tomorrow to an individual. So hopefully by the end of the month or beginning of November, we'll have a new person, a new veteran navigator for LRE. We're really excited about that because we know they'll be able to work with our veteran navigator friends with our CCBHCs as well. So just wanted to let you know that. One other thing is next week is our board meeting for LRE. We will be having a board work session where a company by the name of Wakely will be there. They are actuarials. They do a lot of stuff with numbers. I don't know what all they do, but it looks fancy. So they'll be there giving some presentation to our board on all sorts of fun stuff with the PHE ending, internal service funds, all sorts of things of that nature. So if you have interest, you may gladly join us via Zoom, or you can drive to Muskegon and meet with us there. And then as soon as that board work session starts at 11, that usually is done around 12:30 or so. Then at 1 p.m. we start our full board meeting if anyone has interest in attending that. And then the last thing I just wanted to mention as well is we have been working diligently through our strategic plan. And one of the items in our strategic plan was to really take a look at our meetings that we call ROATs. They are ROATs, and it stands for Regional Operating Advisory Team. So it's basically just a fancy way of saying a coalition or a committee. And we took a look at every one of our groups and we had them prioritize what they wanted to focus on for fiscal year 24. And I was able to put all that into a document. And the idea behind us doing that is to help us eliminate any duplication or allow more opportunities for cross-pollination amongst groups. So that's an exciting opportunity that we'll be sharing with our ROATs over the course of this month and into November. So some things that we're doing there. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Is there anyone from the board that would have any questions for Stephanie at this time? Hearing none. Thank you very much for coming down and meeting with us. I thoroughly enjoyed the aspect of you being here in person and giving a report. It comes across so much better than it does on Zoom. So, thank you very much.
Yeah,
for
no
your time
problem.
and effort.
Thanks for having me.
Next on the agenda is the OnPoint Executive Director's Report. Mr. Whitty, would you take the floor?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As always, a delight to sit before you, especially when the board is full.
Mhm.
That gives me a great deal of satisfaction to know that there are a sufficient number of interested people in this community, but also skilled people who are interested in giving their time, which we try to be modest about, but to really help this organization do its work with proper accountability before the community. So thank you for your role in that. My report started on page
59.
59. Thank you very much. 59. I'm not going to go over it in great detail for 2 reasons. One is it's all written there for your purposes. And second, our staff count how long I take to present information. So I don't want to, beat any records that I've set in the past. I did want you to notice that we did post our mission, vision, and values documents here on the wall and in the lobby and in our staff lunchroom. So again, beginning to put a little bit more of a public accessible view to the commitments we've made, that you've made as a board. And I hope that helps people better understand what we're here and what we're for. On the first item under number 2 on page 59, I did put that we are continuing to be in search of an executive assistant. We may be close. We had interviews today and we'll have again tomorrow, second rounds for people. So we'll hope we have somebody who can help us with this responsibility and get the meeting started electronically and all that stuff before I come in and realize I didn't do it. Tonight, again, thanks, Jane, for your being here. I plan to offer after the end of our meeting an opportunity to walk around with Jane, show her the rest of the building. I was gonna say, for anybody who hasn't had a chance to see it recently or hasn't seen it at all for whatever reason during our open houses and getting moved in and all that, feel free to come along with us and happy to show you around and make sure that all the questions you might have about what goes inside that building, you'll have a chance to get answered tonight. The first item, I would just also page 60, the last item under number 3, we did have some discussions going on with local schools about how we might be able to help. The situation at Hamilton ran afoul of some funding shortfalls that weren't anticipated at the time. And the situation at Seago, which had to do with providing fiduciary services for their health clinic under a grant with the state, ended up falling apart only because another entity, Intercare, stepped up to do that work. So we were no longer needed for that. So, but good to be able to know that we were able to work together if we had gotten to that point. You'll see the long list of things that were involved in recent meetings with the state and with the Treatment Court Association. And I think what I'll do is just end with 2 items. The documents that you'll see on the last 2 pages, page 62 and 63, are just visual representations of a couple of topics that we've been discussing here. Start with page 62. The orange line is the line, if you multiply it by 100, of the state's registration for Medicaid. And we've been watching what's happening in Allegan County related to Medicaid enrollment now that the pandemic has ended and the public health emergency has ended and normal enrollments with Medicaid and including people dropping off the rolls is starting to happen. So that's what we see right now up until this was as of last week. And you'll have next month by next month, but it just shows that we very closely mirror what is happening in the state and this county. Nothing different here than anywhere else other than just the size or the scale. But it's interesting how perfectly the arcs match. So that's what that's about, just kind of letting us know what's happening in the Medicaid enrollment world. The second document, page 63, is the result of our joining the CCBHC demonstration sites, as well as all the others in the state that did that as well. So as you look at the little legend underneath the state map, you can see that the yellow, if you can see the yellow, it's kind of light, were the original sites. And in some cases, if you take a look, if you know where Mason County is up into our northwest, where Ludington is, they have little lines with circles on the end of them. That's because that CMH had 3 counties. So those are the 3 counties that are involved there. But you can see that generally speaking, the green ones are the new ones, but they pretty well cover the southern half of the state. A lot of room for involvement in the upper peninsula and in the upper part of the lower peninsula. And the public policy question that most of the directors there are dealing with, most of the boards are dealing with, is the commitment to provide a fixed array of services to the broad public. The concern that a lot of agencies are having is that they don't have the entire array available. They have to purchase the array, or they don't offer themselves in sufficient volume to meet the criteria for CCBHC demonstration. Or they don't feel they have the staff that they can reasonably commit to having on staff to be able to do the work that's committing when you get committed to do the grant. So it's just it's a matter of how do you do this in a much less, more rural area, much less populated area, and it's a greater challenge. And so that's what you're starting to see. So my hope is that Michigan, which is a state of 10 million, which is a pretty sizable state in the scope of things throughout the country, we should be able to help figure out, like other states that are much more rural, how do you cross this problem? So our hope is that over time we see more and more of that lower part of the upper peninsula and the upper part of the lower peninsula starting to fill in. So that's all I'll say on that. I think I'll end with just this one comment, and that is that, we see a lot of really positive things happening here. Alice talked about the good news that's happening on the financial management side. We've had, years here where we've had to scrape hard to get a couple of nickels together at the end of the year. We've had years where, we've let significant amount of resources lapse because we haven't had the programs to use them in an environment with increasing revenue. Well, we're starting to see the result of that development over time, where we can sort of catch up with the revenue with programming and funding and staff to help use those resources, and grants that help round out some of the things that our programs through the state ordinarily don't use. So it's a great thing. But on the other hand, I wanted to say too, that this is a change. This is really significant, a process of change for all of our staff and for our clients. And in as much as change is positive, it's also difficult for people. And I think we have to be prepared for the working through emotionally, what it means for our staff to have to change the nature of what they do, or the relationships of what they do, or the standards by which they do it, or the teams with which they're used to working. All of it is change, and even good change is hard sometimes. So we just, our work is involved in helping to provide leadership and guidance to staff, but also support through the change process, because it's not easy work sometimes. And it's really important for us to support our staff and our community providers as well. So that's all I'll have for you, unless you have other questions you want to lodge.
Is there any questions for the executive director at this time? Yes.
Not a
Mr. Blake.
question, but a comment. I recently was at a meeting where people were thinking of their legacy in terms of financial donations. And then I realized that your legacy, our legacy, is in those we've served.
Mhm.
And my son has had a mental illness most of his life. And so I think, oh, he's Dr. Dumar's legacy. Anyway, I hope you feel that way.
Thank you.
That's very nice.
Is there any further comments from the board for Mr. Whitman or questions? Hearing none, thank you very much for your report this evening. Next on our agenda is the provision for public comment. Second round. Is there anyone that would like to make any comments to the board? Mr. Whitty, is there anyone online?
I do not believe so.
Second call? Hearing none, I will close the provision for public comment. Board member comments. We'll start over here with Jessica.
This isn't really related to the board, but just letting everybody know I'm helping my granddaughter sell pies. If anybody's interested after the meeting, if they want to meet me, I come up. They're homemade pies, good pies. Thank you.
Karen. Alice. Robin.
Oh, thank you.
Glenn. Thank you. Sam. Jamie.
That's great to have a full board again.
Yes, it is. This is John. And I'll keep my comments short. It is great to have a full board. I appreciate the commitment that everyone on this board has made to be part of it. You do outstanding work, and you're committed to being, gaining the education that we need for this, and some of the reports that you have in your packet show that. So if anyone needs any more encouragement, you're doing a wonderful job. You're doing a wonderful job.
And I found out what a good farmer he is, so you want to talk to him.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Smith.
And you're doing a good job for the board.
Exactly.
I try my best. So, but my job is easy because of the work that Mr. Whitty does and everyone else that is part of this organization. That's why we look good, and it passes it on to me but it is with the commitment they put to it. So thank you, everyone in this room and those who are online and those who are at the LRE too. Thank you. With that, I'll entertain that motion. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Beth,
Support.
support, all in favor, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed? We stand adjourned. And, do you have the time on that, Mr. Williams?
About 6:50.
6:15.
Thanks.